Welcome to Talking Junk. Welcome to Talking Junk. Welcome to Talking Junk. Welcome to Talking Junk.
Welcome to Talking Junk. It's Friday night. We're here again. Back
Yes, sir.
with another lovely person tonight for us to interview. Talon, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good, Jason. Can't complain. It's a little chilly, but you know what? Like I said, can't complain.
Yeah, we live in the two of the hottest states. So I don't know how you're complaining.
Hey,
But
it's been a weird year already, so
our guest tonight could probably show you how to start meditating those chills away while you're in Cali over there. Miss Lisa Erickson, how are you doing tonight, Lisa?
I'm great. How about you guys?
doing wonderful.
Good.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. And yeah, I know it's cold for us in California, but all my relatives in Minnesota are telling me to shut up about that. Cannot bring up the cold right now. They are in negative wind chills right now.
I lived in Minnesota for a couple years as a kid, and even living in Connecticut, it was like, yeah, this is cold, but have you ever been to Minnesota? They get mountains. Huh?
It's cold there, don't you know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, very cold,
So, Lisa, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am a meditation teacher and an energy worker. So I guide people through a lot of different contemplative mind-body methods for both healing, stress management, trauma management, lots of things like that. Okay. And I have a couple books and I teach workshops, all of that kind of stuff.
Okay. So what led you into getting into meditation as a career? For a lot of people, I know it's more of a pastime and an ideal, but it's something that you've chosen to actually pursue. So what led you to do that?
Well, it didn't start out that way. I started out in technology. I was actually a computer programmer, and I was in technology field. And I, after college, working in New York City. But I started having a lot of stress responses in my body to the schedule I was keeping, stomach aches, headaches. So that's how I initially got into yoga and meditation. Okay. And from there, so it started out as kind of a health and stress management technique. But it really developed into a spiritual path. And I kind of teach it from all different levels for people. And I didn't really migrate to the work that I do till after I had kids about 16 years ago. I had been studying energy healing, which is another whole branch kind of meditation techniques and contemplative methods. Yeah, Reiki. And I'm, mostly right now I guide people through their own chakra systems. I do a lot of trauma healing and trauma release work, stress management work. It's really like using meditation and mind-body work to help reprogram yourself, right? Release yourself from old patterns and create new ones, right? New emotional mental patterns. So I got into that after my kids were born.
Okay. So you've developed meditation sort of into a therapeutic tool then?
Yeah. And I don't want to take credit for doing that. Like a lot of people have done that. And in that context, I work a lot with the chakras or energy centers in the body, right? Which is one kind of meditation is focusing on chakras. But I also teach other kinds of meditation, just basic breath work, mindfulness. I do a lot of active visualization work. I work with a practice called feeding your demons, which is actually based in Tibetan Buddhism. So I have a few different modalities and I, depending on what the person is comfortable with, that we decide what we're going to work with.
Okay.
So what are the different kinds of meditation forms and what benefits have been significantly proven for each?
Yeah. I think the big one that's relevant to anybody is just stress management, right? And the main meditation form that has been studied for that is just working with your breath. Just taking time out to follow your breath. If you're trying to calm yourself down, potentially elongating your out breath. Right? The basic rule of thumb, although everyone needs to experiment with it for themselves, is if you're trying to perk yourself up, elongate your inhale for a minute or two. Meaning take several breaths and elongate your inhale over that time. If you're trying to calm yourself down, elongate your exhale. So anyone can do that at any point in their day for 1 or 2 minutes, right? And you'll see an impact because it actually triggers our nervous system to respond in a certain way. And then if you want to develop that into a more formal practice, you just sit and try to watch your breath. Start 5 minutes, start 10 minutes. And the purpose of that is building up this muscle. Like we usually just let our mind go to whatever it's attracted to, building up this muscle of pulling it back, pulling it back, pulling it back. And how that translates into your life is something happens that upsets you. You've been practicing how to pull yourself back so you don't just react. You can respond, right? That's the basic thing that anyone can benefit from. From there, then you start getting into energy work, chakras, things like that. There's a lot of layers you can add on after that. But that basic skill of just practice pulling your mind back has tremendous benefits.
Okay.
How would one even think about pulling their mind back? That sounds like such an obscure thing to do.
Yeah. Well, that is the mystery of human awareness, right? It's like, what does pull your mind back? You're reading a book, your mind starts wandering. What part of your mind goes, oh, I'm supposed to be reading this book, right? We have these layers to our awareness. And that's what you're learning in meditation is how to consciously cultivate that part of your awareness that pulls you back into, wait a minute, I'm going to consciously choose where I'm putting my awareness, not just let it wander, right? And that is a muscle you can build. So first and foremost, in any form of meditation, you're building that muscle. You're building that muscle. Yeah.
So when it comes to meditation, everything like that, I became first aware of it because growing up, I became a large fan of Star Wars, such that I got more into the mythos of it. And I wanted to kind of get a little bit more like how the Jedis work and like that whole philosophy. And mindfulness is like the first step they want to teach you as a Jedi. It's like, be mindful of your thoughts. And it's like, well, what does that mean? Like, be focused. Don't just let things cloud your mind. Be able to let things flow through your mind. And if necessary, and focus, bring yourself back, like you're saying, and focus on what it is that you're trying to do. And it's funny that something that's fictional ended up leading to something that is quite real and undervalued, I would say, in society today.
Yeah. I think so. We're just so externally stimulated all the time, right? It's just always out. And there is a tremendous untapped power in all of us, right? And that's what those myths, are tapping into. Actually, I wouldn't even say they're myths, right? A lot of the stuff around Yoda was really, from what I've read, it's really based on Eastern teachings on what's called cities, right? Powers that you can develop with your mind. And I definitely believe in those, many of them. So that's where meditation can take you. That's the, gets out further out there. But just
learn from other cultures I have.
What, Jason? Sorry.
Learn from other cultures I have.
Yes. Well, did you see Mandalorian? Because you have to now Baby Yoda on that rock with the blue light. Did either of you see
Grogu? Grogu.
That's his name. I'm trying to think. What was the name? Grogu. Yeah, it's not Baby Yoda. It's not Baby Yoda. But that's such a great meditation.
My 11-year-old is pissed because it's not Baby Yoda, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I know. I kept trying to figure out the timeline because they kept calling it Baby Yoda. It's not actually Baby Yoda, but it is a very cute baby something. Baby.
Yeah, they don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
No.
I'm gonna actually going back slightly. That's actually the origin force in that whole mythos is that a bunch of philosophers, theologians, and like spiritual people got together in a group and they sort of thought out and meditated into discovering the force, and that's where it all came from.
Yeah.
What we experience now. I'm not saying that we have proof of but I am saying we haven't tried that method yet of everybody pulling their minds together and finding out.
Yeah.
Be interesting to find that out instead of, how to get more oil, all the nonsense we do.
That's right.
I just don't think there are some people you want to link minds with. Well,
that's called the dark side, and that's inevitable. But we start there. We divided later. We gotta get baby steps, Jason.
Yeah, but there's a side that Star Wars didn't cover. Well, slightly with Jar Jar Binks, but they didn't really cover the dumb side.
There is the dumb side.
The thumb side.
But I think you do experience, if you practice meditation on your own and then you sit with a group, you do have this sense that there's more power to it. I mean, just like with anything, like even you can experience that in an exercise class. That's what we've all been missing the last year, right? We don't get concerts and that communal movie experience or that communal being out dancing. You do experience the same thing in group meditation, that there is this combined power. So there is this inkling of what it means to connect with the force and what you might do with that. World
So
healing meditation.
Almost like the ancient tree in Avatar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do think that's where meditation takes you. You're connecting with something that feels connected to everything else. You're getting beneath all of this, and you're getting to this level that feels as if it is connected to everyone and everything else. And that's where it crosses over into spiritual exploration.
So, for you personally, because since we're kind of talking about the force here, the closest thing that we have to it would be arguably Reiki. And that's if one really meditates enough to kind of get into the sense of projecting energy and doing energy work. It was actually part of my education going to massage therapy school. We actually took a class on Reiki, so that way we had an awareness of it. And we also did, I forgot the name of it, but it's pressure point therapy. We learned that as well, following the lines of the body and the different muscles and like releasing those energy points and like utilizing our own energy to try and help us in the massage therapy experience in the session, because doing that, like you're exchanging energies between the two bodies. And yeah, you're working the muscles and you're trying to manipulate things back, but there's a whole other background system that you're connecting to because you are now touching this person. And I'm thankful that I was able to go to a school where they weren't just technical about this is how you do it. They included the wellness aspect of it and the Reiki and all of that. So to go back to what I was originally going to get to before I got off on the train there was how has Reiki helped you, or how have you integrated that into your meditative life?
Yeah, well, I'm also glad you went to a school, and a school is covering that kind of stuff. I think it's so important. There's such an added dimension of healing you can offer people through that, but also for yourself in terms of protecting your own energy. I think anyone in a caretaking field also has to understand, because otherwise you just get wiped out. You get exhausted, right? Because you're taking in the energy of the people you're working on. And I've had a lot of masseuse clients that we work on that as well. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it didn't start out as Reiki particularly. It was chakra meditation. And then later I got into Reiki and other energy healing modalities. So my connection to the idea of this energy field or the energy body that we each have was through chakra meditation. The chakras being energy centers, for anyone that's new to them, that are part of what our energy body, like all these teachings around the world. We don't just have a physical body, we have an energy body that intersects with it. And things like yoga and acupuncture that are actually pretty common in the West, both utilize energy body mappings. People don't realize yoga postures are even based on them. So learning to meditate on those centers in my own body, after a while, I really felt energy. It's very palpable at a certain point, and it really changes your perspective on our world, that it's not just physical, that you can feel these energies and work with them in your own body and work with them in other people and help them discover how to work with them in their own body. I don't remember exactly what your question was, but hopefully I answered it.
Yeah, you answered it. Yeah.
Okay.
I do have a slight follow-up. Well, go ahead, Jason.
I'm sorry. For someone brand new to the idea of energy work, how would you describe them a method or a way to just dive into it?
Yeah. I mean, I think chakra meditation is a great place to start for anyone, meaning you just pick one of the energy centers in the body to focus on and see if you can feel it. Two of the easiest often are the heart. It's right in the center of your chest. And it's like you can, for some people, they'll feel it right away. For some people, it takes a little bit of time. But anyone listening along, if they want to try it, just think of someone that you really love, you really have a lot of affection for, in an uncomplicated way, right? Like, so it could be a child or a pet, right? Not a complicated relationship. Just, you just, and some people will feel right away, like this, literally this glow in their chest, this warmth in their chest. Like you want to hug that person to you, right? What is that? That's not your physical heart. Your physical heart's off here to the left. What is that warmth or tingle? It's actually your heart chakra, right? And if someone doesn't feel that right away, I honestly have never met anyone that after doing that every day, just for a minute or two, doesn't feel it within a few weeks. Another one is this one up here in your forehead, sometimes pressing there and just visualizing light there in your forehead will really, really trigger. The navel.
That's the Mind Stone. The Mind Stone.
Yeah, exactly. You got it. See? There's all these other names, but everyone knows it. Yeah. So that's it. I mean, and then you really have to, okay, what is that, right? There's not an organ right here that generates warmth, right? So I'm feeling energy. And from there, you build on that. You build on that feeling for yourself, and you can study the 7 main chakras, or there's other systems that have more. I think that's the most empowering thing is learning how to work with it for yourself. Then, of course, if you can go to healers that work with it, and you'll potentially feel on a whole nother level if you're working with someone who's very adept.
Now, would you say it would also be pertinent to make sure one is patient in regards to results? Because, that's not, meditation is not something that you're going to just kind of be able to sit there necessarily. For 5 minutes of sitting there and clearing your mind is not as easy as people think it is. And I think that's why a lot of people brush it off as like, oh, I could do that any time. Could you? Yeah. Could you really just sit there for 5 minutes and think about nothing? Just actively, just if a thought comes, just let it come and let it go. Can you do that? Because it's a skill. It's not something that most people are just able to do. And it doesn't come easily. But the benefits, like you've been mentioning, are absolutely worth it. Yeah.
Well, no, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that happens with a lot of people. They try it once and they're like, oh yeah, it's not for me. I'm not good at it. Right. And it's not like that. It is like anything else. You have to practice it, and it's for everyone. It's for everyone. But you may have to experiment. What form works for me? Do I like breath work? Do I like walking meditation? Do I like chakra meditation? Do I like chanting? It's Om. I mean, do I like music? I mean, I think you can experiment with the form that you connect with the most. And then it is a little bit like exercise. Like, even if you're not enjoying it, it's good for you, and you just have to. And once in a while, it may feel great, right? And that's more how you have to view it, is like, okay, this is self-care. This is developing that part of my attention. I may enjoy it sometimes. I may not other times. It is interesting that the research in terms of the stress management benefits, like when they've done it with like high blood pressure patients, they will ask on the survey, did you like it or not? The benefits are the same for the people who said they didn't like it and the people who did. So it is one of those things. It will help you if you stick with it. And I do think eventually you enjoy it. Most of the time.
Like drinking water.
Yeah. Yeah.
You should drink water. If you don't like water, for some reason.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you. Since you've been practicing in this field for so long, throughout the years, I've done loose research, and I've had times where I'll dip in and look into different things of meditation. And there was a point a number of years ago where I came across the idea, I believe it's from Indian meditation. I'm not sure, but the idea of the pale blue dot, and being able to go into deep meditation and finding that blue dot, and that blue dot being a representation, of your inner self. And going in and being able to find that allows you to sort of connect and like clear out the energies that you have there. Have you ever heard of anything like that? Because when I do meditate, when I close my eyes and like I clear out what's in there, I do see this sort of amorphous, bluish, just gaseous, almost like a flame thing that's manipulating about in my mind when I'm looking for it. And there's like a calmness that's there, but I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about something like that. And I haven't been able to find the things I found before. So I'm wondering if I even made it up.
You know, that exact form, I haven't heard it described exactly that way. I have read of forms that focus on a blue flame in the heart chakra. So I don't know if that's where that comes from. But, you know, there are all these different methods and tools. So you may have read about a particular meditation form. And I feel like they're all doorways into some of the same states. But I don't know exactly. Do you see it like in your third eye, like it's up here, or it's
Yeah.
down lower?
No, when I see it in my, it's almost as if I'm closing my eyes. I'm almost blocking out the light that I can see, so it's dark as possible, and then it's pretty bright to see. Like it's in a space in me that is not the space that's in front of me, sort
Yeah.
of a thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
pretty just.
Yeah.
I'm.
Oh, freezing up for me. I don't know if
Yep. I just wanted to make sure
It did.
you too.
kind of
Okay.
like that too. Yeah.
There you go.
There
It
he
is.
goes.
But yeah, it looks like an amorphous just flame that's just constantly pulsing, and like sometimes it's away, and then sometimes it won't be there. And the reason why I feel like it's my higher self is because I'll know that sometimes where I'm not in the best place, I can't find it.
Right.
I cannot see it there. No matter how much I'm going into where I am, it does not. Where other times, fine, I could just hop in, close my eyes, and it's just there. Just what's good.
Right.
Like you haven't been saying hi or kind of a thing like that, you know.
Yeah.
So I was curious if you had ever heard of that or not.
Not that specific way of seeing it, but I feel, you know, it's very cool. And as you're describing it, I can like feel it's sort of outside of space and time, right? So it doesn't feel like it's in your body, but it is sort of right in you. Yeah, and I think that's what we sort of connect with. It's almost this interdimensional awareness, right? These layers to ourselves. So you're accessing that in some way. That's how it appears for you, but other people might feel or experience it another way. Often with the third eye, there's this sense of this white dot almost out in front of you that might come in. Yeah, so there's different experiences like that are very unique, and they're expansive. They sort of expand your sense of what you are, who you are. Yeah.
Now, how could one with an overactive mind even begin? Because I know when I try to meditate, either my mind is too racy to even begin it, or I fall asleep.
Yeah. That's just like my husband. Yeah, and I know, you know, and actually there's Buddhist tale about this. Like he uses the example of a guitar string in one story, where if the guitar string's too tight, your mind's really busy, right? And if it's too loose, it doesn't make any sound. It has to be just right. That's what you're trying to find. But in our culture, yeah, it's either you're using your mind for something or you're sleeping. There isn't just sort of this study. So we're not conditioned to find that place, right? I think usually for, and I'm a pretty busy person, as you can see, like I'm a high energy. I'm not the typical kind of really Zen, you know. I think more active forms of meditation often work. So people do often that have busy minds, like chakra meditation. They like meditations maybe where they're rotating through, or where you're saying a chant or a phrase over and over, or walking meditation, right? Where you're walking and you're just trying to focus on your movement. Arguably, things like Tai Chi and yoga are moving meditation, because you are trying to still your mind as you're moving. And so then with the physical movement, that sometimes is the entrance point in. So you can experiment. It doesn't just have to be a sitting there focusing on my breath. That may be too not work for you. There's other things you can try.
Running can work too if you find yourself to be really active, like running and just focusing on running and getting that quote unquote runner's high, where you're just kind of in the zone, can really help you clear out your mind, because you get to a point where you're just concerned with finishing your run.
Yeah, and that one is not my meditation. Running is like, no, but but I know runners, exactly. They're in this zone. It is their meditation for them. For sure.
Now, We had a junker say mention qigong. Is that
Qigong.
qigong?
Yes,
Now that's
exactly.
like Reiki, right? That's just a different name, or is that slightly different?
Yeah, well, I'm not a qigong expert, but it's more in line with Tai Chi. It's breathing exercises and some movement, but very breathing or developed, usually with some movement as well, to bring you into a meditative state.
Okay.
Did I disappear? Oh, there I am.
I have to look into
Yeah, so
that.
it's
I'll have
very
to look into that because I feel like I've heard of that. Okay. So what's one of the most, I don't want to say fulfilling necessarily, but the most exciting experience that you've had helping people in regards to therapy with their chakras and chakra meditation? What's one of the most successful things you've seen with that helping people out?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's painful, but I work with a lot of sexual trauma survivors, men and women, but more women than men that have either were sexually abused in childhood or assaulted later on. That's one branch of my healing practice. And I think, and usually they're working with me, either they've also been in therapy or in combination or some other form of support. And I think really helping people release the shame that may be held. We like hold things in our body and in our energy body from past traumatic experiences, not just sexual trauma, but all kinds of trauma, right? Abuse, dysfunctional, relationships or upbringing. It gets stored, patterns of unworthiness, of shame, things like that. And you can work to help
How
heal
could
that. And
this
life
impact
can
us?
really transform.
How could this really impact us energetically? Excuse me. Yeah, energetically. How can it really
Trauma.
affect us? The trauma, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we talk a lot about trauma triggers, right? That if you don't feel safe, if you didn't grow up, say, let's talk about someone who grew up in a home that maybe had some dysfunction or abuse. If you don't feel safe growing up, it creates different patterns as an adult, right? You live maybe in a constant anxious state. We have fight, flight, or freeze, we often talk about in the face of danger, right? You're going to have some survival mechanism that becomes your default, and you bring it to every situation. So even when you're not in danger, you go into fight mode and you're just always geared for conflict, right? Or you totally
Yeah.
avoid conflict all the time. You become very passive. You hold back in your life, right? Or whenever something that feels unsettling or out of your control happens, you feel unsafe and you go into anxiety. These are the kinds of patterns that trauma causes. And I think talk therapy often really helps someone with the narrative, like what happened to me and how it impacted me. But then in the moment when you're triggered, what do you do? That's where these tools become helpful.
Now, when you say talk therapy, you mean traditional therapy?
Yeah, exactly. It can be it's very helpful in terms of understanding what happened and how it impacted me, right? But you also need tools for in that moment I'm triggered, right? What do I do to get through it and act differently than I've acted in the past, right? So it can also be a good co-therapy for addiction therapy. A lot incorporate meditation and chakra type work. I've worked with individuals who have come through addiction therapy and are looking for more tools. Yeah. So it's like you're rewriting, like your energy body stores. It's almost like your software program, in addition to your nervous system and your brain, all your neurological patterns, you're trying to reprogram that. That's part of what any form of meditation or energy healing can help you do. Reprogram yourself.
You gotta have Tank upload some new files to your brain so you can become the one and dominate the matrix.
There you go. Free your mind. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, you have to find the old programs. That's what healing is. And then you have to replace them with new ones. That's personal development work. And pretty much any kind of work like that incorporates something along the lines of meditation, whether they call it that or not.
Now, we had Wendy Friesen on our other show on the break room. She's a meditation expert. Excuse me, not meditation expert, a hypnotherapist. Would you recommend hypnotherapy to try to get into the zone, or do you think that's like taking the easy way out? Would you just rather train your mind the hard way?
Well, I think both are really helpful. I mean, where I've seen, and I'm not a hypnotherapist, but where I've seen it be really helpful with people I've known is things like addiction or deep-seated phobias. It's really amazing. It can really speed up the ability to reprogram in that way. But when that issue is part of maybe a larger, trauma issues or things like that, you usually need other support too. So it can be part of a whole healing process that you're in. I think it can play a useful role for sure. But I would say that the state that you go into in hypnotherapy is not the same as meditation, right? In meditation, you're not really trying to go into a trance where you're in a suggestive state. You're actually trying to go into a state where you're very alert and clear. You're just pure consciousness without all the chatter. And or there is chatter, but you're not attached to the chatter. You can just
like
let it
trying to detach from the physical and become spiritual only, in a sense, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I sometimes I try not to use that language only because I don't like the idea of disassociating from your body. It's more like you're going in your body this state of higher consciousness rather than leaving your body is more how I think about it. And maybe I'm really focused on energy work and chakras. So to me, it's like you're feeling it in your body, this state of, yeah.
I tend to focus on meditation on like a universal level and connecting with universal energy. So maybe that's why we see it as an opposite kind of situation.
Yeah.
Not that it's different, but I think that maybe depending on your focus in general, because what you've been describing is much more internal versus trying to link with energy in the universe. That's not necessarily within yourself. That's kind of the goal, is to connect and make sure you have that going back and forth. So I definitely understand why you'd want to be careful with language like that, because it definitely can be misdirecting.
Yeah,
I did want
think
to make a hark back. I wanted to hark back to where you're talking about trauma being built up in the body. That's actually something that we talk about in massage therapy as well, because when you're massaging somebody, you might get to a place where they've had a knot for like 15 years and nobody's ever touched it, nobody's ever worked it, and you go in and you do some sessions with them and you actually manipulate it and release it, and people will start crying, or they'll just start laughing hysterically, or they'll just get seemingly kind of weird, but they're not getting weird. They're having an emotional release. They're releasing things that they didn't know had built up in their body, and you're actually helping them manipulate it out. It's one of the most insane things to see, because it does happen. And if you need a physical example how there's definitely something more, watch somebody who has just a terrible knotted up back or has had tons of stress and trauma going on. Let them go through some massage sessions and get fixed up, and also see how that's directly connected to their mind as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the same thing with the energy body. And that's what you find. Things are written in, like you'll be focusing on a chakra and someone will just be like, all of a sudden they're releasing all this grief, right? From their heart center. So that's the whole principle of mind body medicine, right? That all these levels are linked. And when we don't face something, it can get locked in the body. It can get locked in the energy body. You're trying to integrate all of that. And I think that's, to me, then when you do that, you do experience the universe in your body without that sense that you have to leave it. Because that's what happens with a lot of trauma survivors. They leave their body. If they've had physical trauma, especially, like there's this term disassociating, right? They learn to connect with the spiritual only by leaving their body. And then there's this idea somehow that I can't feel it while I'm still in my body. And you leave the body, doesn't heal then, right? You want to connect with that universal energy in the body and let it bring in the healing. So it's not really an either or. Some experiences feel more out there, some feel more internal, but ultimately it's both at once. And then spiritual healing can come down and impact the body. Physical healing, that's actually a spiritual release someone is going through when you work through that knot, right? It starts, you're working in the body, but it takes them all the way through.
Exactly.
Now I wanted to go back to something you said about group meditation. Now, what
there we go.
does it benefit you more?
Yeah, it's a wonderful experience.
Oh, I'm sorry. You cut out for a second there, Tyler? Were you just getting back?
I was just making a comment. Sorry. I was just making a comment. It's a wonderful experience to help people out through traumas like that, especially when it's kind of by accident, even though it can catch you off guard.
Yeah.
Now, what are some of the benefits for group meditation? Is it more beneficial to meditate in a group as opposed to meditating by yourself?
You know, I think to some extent it's personal preference, but what it can do, just like with exercise or anything else, is it can help you feel motivated, right? If you have a group that you feel safe and comfortable with that has a regular time, that can help you feel accountable and motivated. Often you may experience more energy in a group. So in that sense, it can be really helpful. Yeah.
I've never
Just
done
like
group meditation.
Now, what?
You guys are.
We're all over the place today. I think it's
I'm
because
like, who do I talk to?
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
Connection's kind of fuzzy, but it's probably on both ends. Don't feel bad. But you wrote a couple of books now, correct?
Yes, I do. I have a book called The Art and Science of Meditation, which is really for people who already meditate for the most part, even if they just dabbled in it, because it's working through challenges, different things to try, how different ways meditation can benefit you depending on what your goals are, different stages of meditation in terms of what you were talking about as they're defined in Eastern traditions. In 2 different Eastern traditions, there's like different stages of meditation, and you can reference those. And then the other book that's most linked to my work is Chakra Empowerment for Women. And that is focused on energy center work specifically for women, because it does talk about things like pregnancy and menopause and things like that that are specific for women. That's why a lot of the techniques in there are really for men or women, but some of them are more specific to women.
Okay. Awesome.
Now,
How recently?
more women meditating?
Say that again, Jason?
Do you see more women meditating than men?
I don't know. I do know that in the mind, body, spirit market, like in terms of books and workshops, women are 80% of the market. So women, but I don't really know if that extends across all kinds of meditation, right? But that, in terms of the personal development, self-help market, it is driven by women. And I hope that changes. I hope it changes, right? I think it is changing. That's why I'm so glad you guys are doing this, right? And having people like me and hypnotherapists on, and because we have a lot of male healing that needs to happen, right?
Yeah, we do.
This is the pathway to that. Yeah.
We need to make it a part of the culture, so it's not shunned upon.
Yes, exactly.
It's almost stigma for a young man to show his emotions.
That's right.
Unless it's, extreme and usually just anger. Like,
Exactly.
if you're angry, of course. You're just. It's like, no, there's probably deep sadness connected to that anger, but we can't get there because we're not allowed to get there. And then it goes into, it's unfortunate, the trauma that we have, and I think it's one part society and one part being brave enough to just be healthy yourself and express what you need to express and seek out what you need, and not be so concerned with how you're perceived, because in the end, whoever's perceiving you in a negative way for trying to seek help they're not going to have that opinion afterwards, because once you seek that help, you find it and you get yourself better. What are they going to say? Ha, you made yourself better, you're alive, you're happy, you're a loser. Like, no, they're gonna, if anything, it'll turn to jealousy. And hopefully the therapy will help such that you can help them get their own therapy, so that way they can realize, look, you don't have to be a curmudgeon. You can be a happy person.
You don't have to be stoic. You don't have to push through it. You don't have to hide it. That's not what it means to be a man, right? But that's the messaging. I have 3 teenagers, and 2 of them are boy-girl twins. And just even watching them in sports, the different messages that girls versus boys hear, like the boys, there really still is a lot of messaging around, you're fine, get up, It's like, let the kid take a breath. It just got knocked over, But even that subtle messaging, right, is somehow like if you express any pain at all, it's weakness, right? And the girls don't get that
We're
as much.
supposed to be tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, there needs to be a balance of being able to toughen people up as well as accept the fact that we're human and we can get hurt. That's okay. But there's a balance, and we've pushed way too hard, and you got to be tough to where now we're almost going a little bit too far back in the other direction. It's like it's okay to fall down, scrape your knee, and somebody be like, "Look, you just scraped your knee," because that's all you did. It might kind of hurt, but once you realize I just scraped my knee, I didn't pop a ligament out of my leg. You get kind of a context like, okay, I am okay. I can get through this. But we have to teach people how to properly process pain and the things they go through so that it doesn't become trauma that turns into a giant hunchback knot for 15 years,
Yeah. It's resilience. It's resilience is what we're looking, we don't want repression. We want this sense of your own resilience, which means it's okay to acknowledge when you're hurting, right? And then process it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Not to just say you're hurting, but to actually acknowledge it and then continue. Because that's another point I think a lot of people get stuck at, is that they'll recognize they're hurt, but then expect someone other than
you
themselves.
Heal your hurt.
What was that, Jason?
It's not just about that either. You got to heal the hurt too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Depending on what it is. And you may need to take some time with that, and that's where a lot of these modalities come in. And men, like we said, they aren't as conditioned that that's okay for them to seek this kind of help, right?
Yeah, you're always told you got to be the strong one in the family for everybody. If you have kids, you got to be the strong one for them. If you have a significant other, you got to be the strong one for them.
What's
the mother?
Literally all the advice you're getting.
The younger brother, but it's all a stigma that needs to be broken.
Yeah. Exactly.
Be strong. You could write, that's the whole book. Be strong. It's like, okay, so I'll just figure out those 2 words and apply it to life. Sure.
And repress anything that doesn't feel like that and let it show up.
Yeah,
in my
exactly.
mind and body, however it's going to show up. Yeah.
I don't know. Be strong. I'll put that in my pocket, till your pockets burst.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where can we find your classes?
So the main site would be enlightenedenergetics.com. And then there's a book site, chakraempowermentforwomen.com. I mean, for anyone on Facebook watching this on Facebook, my Facebook page, Chakra Empowerment, or Instagram, Chakra Empowerment, I also post everything there. So you can find me. They all connect to each other.
That's the way to be.
Perfect. Well, we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts, from our heart chakras, for coming on to the show tonight. We really enjoyed your knowledge, and we hope that you will be a recurring guest.
Thank you. It was great to be here, and I'm so glad you guys are having interviews like this. It's great. Good for you. And I saw you have Talking Junk t-shirts. Do you have Talking Junk masks? Because I'm in LA and I have to wear masks everywhere. You need a Talking Junk mask.
Yeah,
they're in the works.
Okay.
They're in the works. They really are. Talking Junk, break room. We got them both coming.
Okay, good. Okay, great.
We'll be the first to send you one.
I'll get one. Great, good. Thank you, guys. Have a good rest of your Friday night.
Oh, definitely. But you enjoy yours.
Okay.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch.
Bye, guys.
No.
Great night.
Good night, Lisa.
Good night, guys.
Good night. All right. Lisa Erickson, everybody. That was very, very informative, and I'm glad she came on.
So am I. Hopefully that was informative for you junkers out there, and anything you missed, be sure to go back in our backlog and check it out. Go on Spotify, go Facebook Live, go on to Apple Music, wherever the hell you get your listens, your podcast. YouTube, make sure you download this episode.
We're everywhere. We're almost on every streaming platform you could think of. So just go find us. Almost. Matter of fact, if you go on Google right now and you type in Talking Junk Podcast, the first at least 5 is just us on different streaming platforms.
We didn't even pay for that. So get in
So
where it's hot.
yeah, go listen wherever you deem feasible for your ears. But
Mhm.
tomorrow night we're back in the break room,
Oh boy.
and we got a special guest for everybody
Oh
for
boy.
Valentine's. So bring your significant other tomorrow. We're going to be talking with Jack Jones, Miss Jacqueline Jones, owner of Sugar the Shop. It's
Sugar
a
the
sex
shop.
store.
Did she sell candy? Oh.
It's a sex store. So she'll be bringing some toys, showing us on camera, letting us know what the uses are, that sort of thing. Showing
They
you
will
how to
not be
spice up
blurred
your goddamn relationship for the holidays.
out.
And we'll also, Talon, be unveiling our new sponsor.
Oh shit. New sponsor.
Sugar
Sounds like we're making
Facility.
moves this year.
Oh, we're making big moves this year. Talking Junk, Break Room. We're gonna expand. We got other podcasts coming out. It's gonna be a ball this year. So stay
It's
with
gonna
us.
be a
Stick
ball.
with us. It's gonna
And
be a
remember
ball. Oh, Sunshine, you like that, huh?
Junkers, if there's anything I can tell you, hodl that Dogecoin.
Well,
All right.
all Dogecoin aside, come and join us tomorrow night. Back right here, except we'll be in the break room. It won't be talking junk. We will be talking junk, but we'll be in the break room. Live with Jack Jones, owner of Sugar the Shop, showing you guys some nice, kinky little toys for the next day when you cuddle up with your loved one and pull whatever your preference is out and do what you need to spice it up.
So come through, you naughty fuckers.
Bring everyone. Bring your
Well, not
wallets too.
don't bring everybody.
We're
Don't bring the
selling
whole family.
liquor.
Bring most of your family. 18 and up. Let them all come.
18. Oh, 21 and older. We're selling liquor.
Oh, yeah, that's true. All right, 21 and older. You could tell the 18 and ups about it afterwards.
No. They could find out about it maybe on Spotify and everything where they can't buy anything.
Yeah, there you go.
Let them listen. Don't let them buy.
Yeah.
But join us tomorrow in the break room. Sugar everywhere.
Hopefully it's all sugar. Hopefully it's all sugar.
Well, some people are gonna have other types of bodily fluids everywhere after this episode.
That's
Who knows? Maybe your UK admirers will join us on Twitch
Hey
next
man,
week. I mean,
I'll
tomorrow.
I'll lotion my head tomorrow. If you pop them feet up there, make some money. Know what I mean?
Sounds good to me. They want the shirt off your back, not the shirt off mine.
We're at baby steps, man. They gotta pay for that. We gotta earn these ranks. Can't give away this luscious for free, you know?
Well, I'll tell you what we are giving for free. Content. So come and view it tomorrow night in the break room.
All right, that's it. We done bullshit and talking junk. Y'all have a good night. Hey.
Good night, Junkers.